There is not enough energy in the forest. Leaves are everywhere. Calories are not. Cellulose is structure, not fuel. Most animals solve scarcity by increasing output. Eat more, move faster, claim territory, burn harder. The sloth cannot. Its food does not allow it. Its body does not allow it. Its survival begins with a deficit. Leaves contain fiber the body cannot easily break. Fermentation takes days, sometimes more than a week. Energy enters slowly, in small increments, a steady drip. There are no spikes, no reserves for dramatic action. The sloth does not live on abundance. It lives on margin, and margin is fragile. One mistake lasts longer than the mistake itself. Now imagine acceleration. A predator appears, a branch breaks, wind shakes the canopy, a shadow shifts. If the sloth reacts like other mammals, heart rate surges, muscles fire rapidly, oxygen demand multiplies, glucose consumption rises. Acceleration feels like safety, but acceleration requires stored energy, and stored energy is limited. If output exceeds intake, even briefly, the system destabilizes. Not instantly, quietly. A TP drops, oxygen delivery lags, anaerobic metabolism increases, lactic acid accumulates, recovery begins. But recovery is not minutes, it is days. Days of weaker grip, days of lower vigilance, days of slower digestion, days where even suspension costs more. The predator leaves, the debt remains. The real predator is not teeth, it is energy overdraft. The sloth cannot afford overdraft. One sustained sprint could cost days. One prolonged fight could exceed its budget. One miscalculated escalation could open a window of weakness longer than the threat itself. Acceleration is not just difficult, it is destabilizing. Its metabolic rate sits 40 to 50% below similar mammals. This is not laziness, it is restriction. Heat production remains low, respiration minimal, cardiac output subdued. The system is calibrated near its lower threshold. There is little excess to mobilize. And little excess means little margin for error. In high-energy animals, escalation is built in. Here, it is engineered out. Fast animals survive through peaks. Peaks of force, peaks of speed, peaks of hormonal surge. Peaks burn reserves, create oxygen debt, demand repayment. The sloth cannot generate peaks safely. If it escalates, it risks collapse. Not dramatic collapse, slow collapse, prolonged recovery, extended vulnerability, energy debt it cannot repay quickly. A high-energy animal can absorb a mistake. The sloth cannot, so evolution removes the option. Muscle composition shifts towards slow twitch dominance. Fast twitch fibers are reduced. Explosive contraction becomes physiologically limited. Stress responses remain muted. Adrenal escalation is dampened. The body is biased against urgency. You cannot overspend if your system refuses escalation. Constraint becomes protection. But constraint alone is not enough. Gravity is constant. Standing burns fuel every second. Balancing burns more. Climbing upright compounds the cost. Micro adjustments never stop. So the sloth inverts the equation. It hangs. Suspension transfers weight into bone, not muscle. Claws lock. Tendons hold. Muscles disengage. Hanging costs less than standing. Stillness costs less than readiness. Instead of resisting gravity, it lets gravity carry it. Containment replaces reaction. The sloth does not prepare to run, it prepares not to need to. Predators detect motion. Rapid displacement, contrast against still foliage. The sloth fragments movement. Grip, pause, shift, pause. Acceleration thresholds are rarely crossed. If disturbance rises, it tightens its grip. It waits. Reaction amplifies cost. Waiting stabilizes it. Stillness is not weakness, it is containment. Digestion continues. Microbes ferment fiber slowly. Energy arrives in controlled increments. Movement remains minimal. Demand matches supply. No spike empties reserves. No surge destabilizes balance. The stomach may approach a third of body mass. Food is processed gradually. Time becomes a buffer. Spreading cost across days prevents collapse. Oxygen follows the same logic. Low demand lowers dependency. Heart rate remains slow. Respiration shallow. In another mammal, stress triggers rapid breathing. Here, escalation is restrained. The system does not amplify easily. If oxygen fluctuates, it does not panic. Panic widens deficit. Calm protects the budget. Once per week, the sloth descends. Waste increases mass. Mass increases cost. Cost threatens equilibrium. So it accepts brief exposure to prevent chronic instability. Defecates in one location, removes excess weight, climbs back. Even vulnerability is rationed. Even danger is scheduled. Its fur grows from belly toward back. When hanging, rain drains downward, moisture lingers in grooves, algae spread, edges blur, outline dissolves. Camouflage reduces the chance that speed will be required. The safest sprint is the one avoided. If it behaved like a monkey, leaping, repositioning, constant foraging, it would exceed intake within hours. Deficit would accumulate. Oxygen debt would rise. Recovery would demand days. During recovery, movement slows. Slower movement increases detection. Detection demands escalation. Acceleration to deficit to vulnerability to forced acceleration to deeper deficit, a loop. And slow systems collapse inside loops. Acceleration would not protect it. It would destabilize it. So the species commits fully. Reduced explosiveness, reduced metabolic ceiling, reduced behavioral variability, reduced cognitive demand. No dominance displays, no territorial escalation. Everything streamlined around one law. Do not exceed intake. Even temperature regulation complies. Instead of defending a narrow internal range, it allows drift. If air cools, metabolism cools. If heat rises, activity remains limited. Thermal compliance saves energy. Energy preserved prevents collapse. The environment shifts. The sloth adjusts downward, never upward. In water, buoyancy lowers gravitational cost. Movement becomes smoother. But speed does not appear. Reduced cost does not create surplus. Surplus invites escalation. Escalation invites debt. Debt invites collapse. Over time, predators adapt. Chasing prey requires fuel. If reward is low, pursuit declines. The sloth rarely triggers urgency. It lowers its priority in the forest's economy. It survives not by dominance, but by being energetically unprofitable. Scarcity was the starting condition. Acceleration was the threat. Debt was the consequence. Suspension became containment. Constraint became design. Speed wins quickly, but speed burns reserves. Reserves fluctuate. Fluctuation creates failure. The sloth removed fluctuation. It reduced output until it matched the slow trickle of intake. No peaks, no crashes, no drama. If it accelerates, it destabilizes. If it destabilizes, it enters debt. If debt lingers, it becomes visible. So it does not accelerate. It made survival inexpensive. And nothing in the forest hunts what barely costs anything to exist.